Good evening, everyone, and good morning. I hope everyone is fine. Onegaishimasu. So I'll read to you Reisei Shin tonight from the Shokushu. We as human beings are given a mind that is directly connected to the universe. This is Reisei Shin. Water, when it settles, can clearly reflect the moon. When our mind becomes calm, Reisei Shin expresses itself clearly and unmistakably. Once this mind arises, in that moment, any selfish urges and desires disappear, and the universal mind of love and protection for all things shines forth. Let us polish our Reisei Shin. So I have to say that I so enjoy your gatherings on Monday night. You know, I get to listen to the video on Tuesday. They send it to me so that I'm always getting to hear everything you say. And I was inspired. As you know, Tracy Reasoner Sensei is covering, I think, the 10 rules in daily life right now. And the second one is love all creation. And it's just, I couldn't leave that alone. I need to say something myself about it. You can imagine. So if you don't mind, I will say a couple of things. I think that maybe the most important thing is to understand what Doi Sensei means when he says those two things, love and all creation. What does he mean by love? Is he talking about the kind of attraction we feel for another person? I don't think so. Because that, when you feel an attraction for another person, that makes them an object. We're attracted to them because you have objectified them. And that surely doesn't mean the kind of love that Doi Sensei is talking about. I think he's talking about, maybe you could say, have a true connection with everyone. And then he says, all creation. So I don't think he means we have to love all creation all the time. Because how many of you are experiencing all creation right now? Anybody? No, I don't think so. I'm certainly not. So I think maybe you aren't either. In fact, I'm not sure anyone can experience all of creation all at once. So he's not talking about loving all creation all at once. Just like when he says, the purpose of our practice is to be one with the universe. Does he mean being one with all of the universe all the time? No, every moment, whatever we experience right now, and there is no other moment but right now, is what we call the universe or all creation. So when he's saying love all creation, he means love whatever arises in your life in the moment that it arises, because there is no other time. Now, you might think, well, yes, but what about like, when you're sending, what about when we're all sitting together, let's say in the morning, right? You're not physically present. I'm not physically present in your living room or wherever you're sitting, and vice versa. But we can connect. So we do that by connecting in our mind with each other, by embracing, holding the whole group of each other. And not just me holding me, not just holding, Lillian or Carlos or Celine. No, it's you hold everyone. And this way you can, just like you can see all of the, when I turn the video to, what do we call it? Gallery view. So gallery view shows me everybody at one time. So maybe I can do this. Maybe this is difficult for some people, but maybe some of us can at least, imagine that many people. Imagine embracing or connecting with or holding the group. So even if I could remind you when Suzuki Sensei told me, when I'm in Europe, I still have to hold everyone in the Hawaii Federation. I cannot just abandon them. So I think this is the kind of thing that he's talking about, loving all creation. It's connecting with everything that is present. Now, maybe, of course, as we practice more and more and more and more opens to our awareness. But we could say that. Now, let me remind you that I'm not, when I say things like this, I'm not telling you you have to agree, or you have to believe, or you have to accept. I want you to check it out for yourself. I want you to sit down and see what you include, what is possible for you to include in your world of experience. And then you know what you can love. That is your universe. That is your all of your creation. So, I heard a few people say, well, it's not so easy to love everybody. Some people are not very nice. So that's mistaking what Toi Sensei is saying for love. He's not saying you should make everyone your best friend. Loving them in this way doesn't even mean you have to like them. You're not attracted to them. They're not your buddy. They're not your girlfriend or boyfriend. When you look at President Trump, you're not required to fall in love with him. That's not what Toi Sensei is saying. That would not make any sense. Okay? So in your daily life, of course, you are attracted to, or you're drawn to, let's say it this way. For instance, everyone in the dojo. You're drawn to the dojo. You're drawn to these people. Why? Because they're caring about you the same way you're caring about them. In other words, they're open to you and they want to connect with you in the same way that you want to live a life of openness and connection with other people. So even if you say there's a drawing towards someone or an attraction to someone, it doesn't have to be as an object. It doesn't have to be selfish, in other words. It doesn't have to be that you're going to take something from them or you're looking to get something from them. It's so wonderful to be a teacher and have students that are open. Why? Because I can give, because I can connect in a much more deep and intense and meaningful way for me and you than if I'm with someone that doesn't care or that doesn't notice that that's a possibility. And that's okay, because I'm not requiring everyone to do that. But it's a real treat to be with you folks, because you're open and you would like also to connect. So I think this is more like what he means by love all creation. Of course, if we're being selfish, if we're being frightened or doubtful or shy or standoffish or afraid somebody's going to take advantage of us, then we're not open and we're not connected. Right? So we soon find that the kind of thoughts and reactivity that leads to us being in that state of mind, in a negative state of mind about someone, is not useful. So we don't need that. So little by little, every time we feel something like that, we just keep on playing. And that means that in our subconscious mind, at every moment, every time we do that, we build a different kind of subconscious mind. And then tomorrow we're more likely to do that. It's more easy. And then pretty soon we find ourselves responding to people completely differently than we did when we were 20 or 30 or 40 years old, or earlier in our life, let's just say. Okay, so I wanted to say something about that. Thank you. Let's do some key breathing. Okay, thank you. I'd like to add one other thing, and that's to remind ourselves that when Toy Sensei says something like, love all creation, that's not saying that we should love all creation, but that, like he says in Reisei Shin, when our mind is calm, deeply calm, then it reflects all things clearly. And selfish desires and urges disappear. They disappear because when we're in this state of mind, we're surrounded by the most incredible gift, this life. It's illuminous, it's radiant, and it's so deeply satisfying that the whole idea of having a desire for something else becomes absurd. So when you're having this kind of experience, this is what he calls loving all creation. All right, so I said a lot there. Why don't you, if you have a question, please ask me about that. This idea of loving all creation. Or if you'd like to say something as well, please do.
Good evening, Sensei. Hello, everyone.
Hi, good evening.
Could you please speak about compassion? Thank you.
Well, so similar to love. So the common sort of idea of love is a very selfish kind of attachment to someone, clinging and desperately needing and wanting to get something from the other person. That's not true love. That's well, and maybe in the Bible, I think they say eros and agape. So maybe two kinds of love there. Not to say that it's wrong, but it's very different. It's not selfless by any means. And compassion, same thing. When we see someone and we have pity, it's not wrong to pity them, but you are objectifying them if you're pitying them. You're making yourself superior to them in some way. Excuse me. It's like, I think I told you this before. When I was in my 3-year retreat, I told my teacher that I thought I was beginning to understand compassion. And he laughed at me, as he often did, and said, listen, young man, when you experience true compassion for the first time, you will accuse yourself of being cold-hearted. That's what he had to say to me about compassion. So in other words, he's telling me that's how far off our idea of compassion is. Actually feeling compassion is not a warm and fuzzy kind of let's get together and hug each other kind of feeling at all. It is very real and very full. And in my experience, it makes me feel very inadequate to have even dreamed of having compassion with my small mind. This is just, it's not capable of that. It doesn't mean there isn't compassion. Of course there is. But again, it comes about when our mind is extremely calm and everything is still and peaceful in our heart. Then compassion can arise. But I'm just saying, suggesting, it may be very, very different than what we popularly think of as compassion. We use that word very loosely. Okay? I think that's all I can say about that right now.
Yeah. Sensei, it's Prakash. So when I heard you talk about, love between humans, it sounded as though you were saying there was something wrong with that. And you corrected that in what you just said to Priya. And as humans, we got to start somewhere. And the Russian mystic Gurdjieff, he said, if you want to learn about love, start with a pet, because they will love you unconditionally, and then you'll learn what love is. Yeah. So.
Thank you. Well, I was going to look at what you have to say, Prakash. No, I think that's very wise. Of course, Gurdjieff. Yeah, so often when we are attempting, or at least when I am trying to delineate between a Shoga mind and a Taiga mind, it sounds like I'm saying that Shoga mind is like bad news. It's not bad news, it's just very, very, very pale in comparison. And people don't realize that if you haven't ever had a moment where what I'm talking about, luminosity, if you haven't had a moment of seeing the sidewalk luminous, then it's hard to imagine what the heck I'm talking about, that because, human love can be very, very attractive and beautiful to us, very moving. People live and die for it, right? Romeo and Juliet. So, I mean, it's not a small thing, except in comparison to the big thing. Thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate it. And you're right. Maybe not cats, but dogs know how to love unconditionally. Okay, someone else, please. I know you all probably feel like you had your say on Monday night and you don't want to add anything, but.
Hello, Sensei.
Yes. Hello, Andre.
Hello, everyone. If you allow, I'd like to share my own experience of what, in my opinion, where can I call it? Where can compassion begins? Maybe. For some reason, some people are kind-hearted, and feeling of compassion, I think, is quite easy for them. But some people are quite logic, and those who have logic mind, in my opinion, it's good for them to practice key breathing, because it calms the mind. And when your mind is calm, you can understand what's going on in the mind of most of people. It's just shaking, jumping, etc. So that's why you, even if you see, it's my own experience, even if I see a strong, angry person, well, he's a victim of his mind, actually, I think. That's what I think.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much, Andre. That's very insightful. Of course, I think you're talking about what we call in English empathy. when our mind is quite calm. Some people naturally are empathetic or empathic. They naturally feel and feel for other people, can put themselves in the place of the other person. And so naturally, yes, I think probably for those people, compassion perhaps comes more easily. But for all of us, we have to remember that compassion is not just feeling sorry for or feeling similar to the way somebody feels when they feel badly. You know, we brought up, Prakash was telling me one night during a discussion where we were all there, but what about all these negative things that happened that we found very difficult to accept? And it's true, there are many things that are difficult to accept that are that are very unkind and cruel even, and inappropriate, I think is the word we used. But instead of trying to fight them off or do away with them, we represent what it is that we want, what it is that we think is so great. And if you can, if you put yourself in that place, you'll see that representing that is not so easy. It takes a lot of practice for all of us. So when we start talking about Reisei Shin and compassion and loving kindness and loving all creation, this is a very, very highly evolved and difficult to come upon state. And I think that's exactly what you're saying is maybe we all need to practice, keep reading more and more so that we can experience this more and more. We have a couple of more minutes if anyone would like to say or ask anything. Don't be shy, now's your chance.
Sensei, can you hear me?
Yes.
Do you ever experience when you listen to people in trouble with a mind of compassion that they feel like you are not actually with them and that you're not understanding them because they experience you as cold-hearted? And don't you feel like you want to jump back into that small way of being with them, like, oh, it's so bad for you, what's happening now? Can you say anything about that?
Yeah, I think that Mo, my experience is when we're in this state I'm talking about of deep calmness, when something like loving kindness or compassion can actually emerge in our consciousness, there isn't any room for anything else. If there's someone thinking, do they really get me? Are they really knowing that I'm having compassion? No, then you're not having compassion. That's just pity. And that's why they don't like it. If you're truly compassionate, if you're truly not separate from this person, they know it. At least that's my experience. This is a very, very deep and difficult subject. So this is a Wednesday night, and we only have just a little time tonight to talk. So thank you for letting me bring it up. And at least we had a few people got to ask and talk about it. So nice to see you. And I will see you on Friday night. Thank you very much.